Okay, before we start the official proceedings tonight, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that we're gathering at today and pay respect to their elders, both past and present. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to South Melbourne FC and the inaugural VIP Inner Sanctum dinner. My name is Ashley Mancusis and I will be hosting the evening tonight. Firstly, I'd like to welcome to the microphone President of South Melbourne FC, Mr. Nicholas Mancusis.
Very warm welcome to everyone here tonight. This is our first. Schedule. No, I'm fine. I can't read who our sponsors are, but we're fine. Our first COVID-restricted formal function. It's something that we wanted to do for a long, long time, and we plan to do this on an annual basis. And I can't tell you how proud I am and thrilled we are to see all of you here today. From our sponsors to our representatives. There we go. Thank you, Ashley. And of course, the greatest thrill I have is that to see our past presidents here today and representatives of our past presidents. It's indeed an honour for us to host you at your club. So a very, very warm welcome from the whole South family. Thank you. I'll have more to say about that a little bit later. Bill Papper, of all people, tells me I spend too much time on the microphone, which is extraordinary coming from Bill. Can I thank our major sponsor, Tandem Building Group, and Tass Rufos and Jamie McClure. Jamie's just come in from Adelaide, isn't that right, Jamie? It's great to have you here. Peligra, Ross Peligra, 1300 Plaster, Andrew Mezzaruni, who served on the board as well for a decade at least now, or coming on to a decade, and runs the football department, which is not an easy task, although the men's team is sitting on top of the ladder. And I did want to say that both men and women, but Gab, where are you? Gab. Last night's result killed that off. From PDG, of course, Gabriele Giuliano and Vince. Vince, it's great to see you here. It's been a long time. SciTech, Eric Zimmerman, AIS Insurance Brokers, Brendan Davis. Now, even the past presidents will remember Brendan Davis. Brendan, where are you? There he is. 25 years of continuous sponsorship. It's extraordinary. It truly is. Advanced Print Scan Solutions, John Mavrius, and we're also blessed to have Zev Bogarty here from Kappa. Great to see you, Zev. Mr. Oils, Zinzino Wellness, Michael Rothschild, Freehill Mining, George Theonis, or Mr. Switzerland as he prefers to be called. He sponsors another club, he's got a son in another club. Wolfsmiths, Daniel Wolf and Nick Smith. Realm Investment House, Ausbuild Investment Management, Build Partners, and a special welcome, of course, to Now for Australia, George Mammy, Director. They've continuously supported this club for about 10 years now as well. A warm welcome to Jeremy Horton and Chris Starrett from AIA, where we hope in the very near future to announce an exciting partnership moving forward. We also welcome Bank of Sydney, Theo Galidis, where we've just executed a sponsorship agreement in which the Bank of Sydney will be our preferred banking partner. Theo, where is he? There he is. Thank you, Theo, for your support. I think an ex-premier is on your board, isn't he? Or was on your board. We've got an extraordinary group of sponsors, and the patience that they've shown over the COVID period has been extraordinary. So thank you sincerely from all of us at the club. Our representatives, honourable members, Peter Khalil, I see here as well, Martin Foley, our #1 ticket holder. And Martin, we did have the HHS through here not long ago, one of our games, but Martin has done a power of work representing this community for a long, long time. He's helped us secure the 40-year lease. He's done a power of work in the A-League bid. So a very, very warm welcome to our #1 ticket holder. Martin Pakula is here as well. I know he's got to go, so Bill's telling me I've got to get off the stage right now. FA, I'd like to also thank and welcome our keynote speaker, Chairman Chris Niku, and when we locked in the 27th, I didn't realise it was my wife's birthday today. It's my wife's 60th birthday today. So if I need to play for locks to change to home, Chris, I'm staying at your place. Peter Philopoulos, everyone knows Peter Philopoulos, Head of Marketing and Communications. FB Directors, Cesar Jacobi is here, I've known for over 20 years. AA FC Chairman, Nick Galatas. Representing the Papasadas family is Lazaros Papasadas, it's great to see you here. Leo Anzakis, who made his way here tonight. Bill Yorgladis, who has served this club for I think 27 years. George Vasilopoulos, it's just a thrill to see him here. I haven't seen him for such a long, long time. This is your family, George. Peter Matrakis, Chairman and President of this club. Paul Dimarelos. Paul, I see him at the local games. Greg Caius, George Danikian, the hair's getting whiter. Leo Thanasakis, your hair's growing back. At this time, our thoughts are also with Chris Christopher, and we only wish he could be here. I had the pleasure of serving with these presidents, at least half these presidents, and they've taught me everything I know about this club and this business. To the South Melbourne Board, they're a dynamic group of individuals, self-made individuals, and are applying their training and doing everything they can to assist this club. We've got some grand plans. That's it for me for now. I'm going to hand over back to Ashley, and then I'll talk to you a little later tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nicholas. I'd like to welcome to the microphone Chairman of South Melbourne Football Club and President of the Greek community in Melbourne, Mr. Bill Papasteriadis.
And it's good to see that Nick and I aren't related, because Nick, you did speak for about 25 minutes, even though you promised just to introduce yourself. So you did a good job. Well done, Nick, and President. And welcome everyone for being here. In particular, I'd like to welcome Martin Foley, our #1 ticket holder, Peter Khalil, Peter Philopoulos, Chris Niku, of course the Minister of Sport, Mr. Pakula, all of the board who really do the hard grunt behind all of the work that we see tonight. Andrew, Mezzaruni, Gabby, Mario, Tony, Eric, Dennis, Tass, Peter. There's a power of work that's done to make all of these things happen, and it's not easy running a club that does the whole spectrum of football, whether it's girls, boys, senior men's, women's, all abilities, blind football. The club is really a leader in so many different areas. But it is a pleasure to have with us Minister Pakula, someone who is deeply invested in football in this state, who has a strong heritage in understanding Greek football, and I think he'll talk a little bit about that himself in terms of his own upbringing. Apparently he was a better player than some of our national footballers who played in our country. So he told me, but he can talk about...
I never told you that.
Oh, he didn't? He was apparently better than the Anastasiadis brothers, I'm told. But we'll hear all about that. He's also, there was an S at the end of his name. He could have been Greek too, Pakulas. But for that S, Martin, you would have been a full-life member of the club. But he has invested heavily in football in this state because he's the minister responsible for the announcement for the setting up the home for the Matildas. That is a centre of excellence and something that is close to the heart of this club because of our involvement in women's football and particularly Gabby's involvement in that. My daughter played a couple of years here too. It's something that we hold dear to us. So Martin, a pleasure to have you with us, and if you can say a few brief words. Thank you. A big round of applause.
Thanks, Bill. One sheet of paper. I'd like to start by introducing the Chair of Football Australia, Nick Mancuso is the President of South Melbourne, Bill Papasteriadis is the Chair of South Melbourne, my ministerial colleague Martin Foley, the local member, the #1 ticket holder as I learned tonight, and the Minister for Health, so he hasn't had much on, and Peter Khalil, the member for Wills, and all the other distinguished guests that are here tonight. I'm 52, so I grew up in the 70s, and so my recollection of South Melbourne was when it was Palace, and playing against Footscray JUST and Marconi and Heidelberg and all of those teams. And before I came here tonight, someone said to me, now you've got to make sure don't call them Palace, they're South Melbourne FC. It's a multi-ethnic club, it's no longer just a Greek club. And I said, that's like me, because as Bill said, I spent most of my life trying to convince people that I wasn't Greek either, with about the same amount of success. But, you know, look, as I said, I'm a child of the 50s, so I'm going to keep calling it Palace if that's all the same to everybody in the room. Probably breaching some really important protocol doing that. I should talk about the first time I ever spoke to Bill was just after I took over the portfolio. I'd been the Attorney General, I took over the tourism sport and major events portfolio at the time that Football Australia was making the decision about the new A-League licence. And I think Bill had heard that I was a South Eastern MP, that I might have been kind of tied up with Team 11 a little bit, and he rang on behalf of South Melbourne FC and said, look, we just want to be sure, Minister, that you're going to play this with a straight bat, you're not going to unduly support Team 11. And I said, Bill, I promise you, straight bat, and to prove it, Western United got the licence. So you missed out, and so did the team based in my election. Look, as I said, someone who grew up in the 70s, I'm really I clearly understand the great history of South Melbourne, the 60-year history of this club. I was reminded watching on the little screen over there, I saw Johnny Anastasiadis, I think, kick a goal in the 97-98 grand final against Carlton, and again against Sydney United, I think 2 goals. And I was saying to Bill, I've never claimed to be a better footballer than John and Dean. Never, ever. I didn't grow up playing football, I grew up playing Aussie rules, but John and Dean, who lived in Essendon, I lived in Ormond, so not close at all, but John and Dean's grandparents lived across the street from me, and like a lot of kids in the 70s, summer holidays was going to, your grandparents' place to stay. So John and Dean's mum and dad had shipped them off to Ormond for the summer, and we grew up from a very young age playing in each other's front yards. I learned my first word of Greek from John's grandmother, Hockey, because she used to yell across Bevan Street, Ormond, on a summer afternoon. She used to yell, Yanni, Costa, Elado, and I remember saying to the boys, what does that mean? So she's telling me to come here now, I've got to go. So, I've grown up loving the game, watching it, not being a very good player of it at all, apart from a little foray into indoor soccer in my sort of 30s, where we had a team at the Altona Sports and Leisure Centre. But it's great privilege having grown up loving all sorts of sport to be in this portfolio now. I think the National Second Division is it's a great opportunity. It's a really important pathway for up-and-coming stars of the game. It will create great opportunities for officials and administrators moving into the highest levels of sport. So our government is a really strong supporter of the club's bid for a spot in that National Second Division, and it would be a great recognition of the club's history and its standing in the game. I also just want to say a couple of words about something really unfortunate that happened a couple of months ago, where there was some controversy about the Ferret Pushka statue and the disrepair it had fallen into down at Melbourne Olympic Parks. I literally discovered that as a result of a conversation on social media. I think people would have noted that within a few hours of that becoming known, it was the repair work was underway, and I'm really pleased to say that that's now been completed. And I met with the Hungarian Consular Office just last week to talk about that. So that won't happen again in regards to the Pushka statue. And it's really good to be able to have that conversation directly with our Hungarian community about the most appropriate location for it, understanding, of course, the great connection that he had with this football club. So look, there's a lot to be excited about in terms of the rapid growth of the game. The fact that we're going to be one of the host cities for the FIFA Women's World Cup in 2023 gives us a great opportunity, not just in regards to the works that we'll have to do at Amy Park, but the works that we continue to work with Football Victoria and Football Australia on in regards to the home of the Matildas. So there's a lot to do, and there's huge opportunities. I know, working in consultation with the Community Sport Minister Ross Spence, how much we need to do to make sure there's enough community facilities for football in this state. The growth of the game is so spectacular that sometimes the facilities don't keep pace, but we're working on that as well. So I just want to wish South Melbourne all the best for the rest of the season. I hope the strong start continues, and I wish you all the best with your attempt to get into that National Second Division. Congratulations and thanks for the invite.
It's my privilege to bring to the lectern the #1 ticket holder for the club now. Nick, our president, surmised his invaluable role for our club. And that really related to the future of this club and the fact that we may not have been here tonight, that this club may in fact not have existed, but for the hard work, the intervention and the passion of our local member of parliament, but also the Minister of Health, Martin Foley. Can I have a big round of applause for Martin? Martin played a seminal role in relation to the lease and licence deal for this wonderful stadium. But for Martin, it may not have been so easy for us. And so, not only does he understand the importance that this club plays from a football perspective, but Martin has an intrinsic understanding about the notion of diversity and the notion of multiculturalism and the important fabric which our club and also people of different multicultural backgrounds play towards the development of our great state and our city. So, Martin, thank you for your service to South Melbourne Football Club, but also to our wonderful state and to our city. And over to you to say a few brief words. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. You've got to watch stairs now in my line of work. I've established over the last month or two. One step, but you never know where you might end up. But can I thank you, Bill, for those very kind words. I have neglected my #1 ticket holder status over the last 12 months, so you'll have to forgive me, but I do intend to make good. There's no greater pleasure really than to be a part of the South Melbourne Football Club family. I know the club thinks of itself in those terms as a family, and that's exactly the right term of phrase. Because in the time that I've had the privilege of working with the club, it's been through all the kind of things that families go through. lots of crises, but what's stuck it together is this notion that everyone in the club and the community is in it together. And the fact that it has grown through adversity and it now has, as we heard from Nick at the start, such a wide range of all abilities clubs, women's soccer, kids soccer, girls soccer, and has taken so much of the enthusiasm that we've seen for the world game in this community and taken it to a whole new level. And that couldn't happen without the support of, firstly, the dedicated board members. I want to acknowledge all the board members for their great voluntary contribution to the building of this club. I want to thank the sponsors. Without you, the support for the club, it wouldn't be here. And I want to thank all of the supporters and the players and the wider members, particularly the Greek community here in Melbourne, who make this club what it is, the home of so much of how football plays a role well beyond the sport in that social capital of binding communities together, particularly when it counts. In the last 12 months, community has counted more than ever. Just over the last few weeks, globally, we've seen so much of the COVID crisis take off again. We've passed officially 3 million deaths, over hundreds of millions of official cases, and as we've seen in India over recent days, a huge escalation of what this virus can do to obviously individuals, but nations, cities, economies, and community. And the fact that Australia, even though it's had its setbacks, and Victoria's had that, the fact that Victoria, Australia, has positioned itself so well has been on the basis of being able to rely, when it counts, on community. And do not underestimate the role that clubs like this play in times of adversity. Gives communities hope, gives communities expectations that there are better days ahead, and from those shared values of resilience, of determination to come out the other end, of the opportunities to make sure that community counts when the pressure is on. Those are the kind of shared values that this football club has been built on and has prospered and has gone through tough times, but now will prosper again. It is in fact prospering, and of course top of the league at the moment. But in doing so, it's always looking to the future in this club. The board is really future focused, and whilst I was bitterly disappointed with the A-League licence decision, I'll take that to my grave, but we dust ourselves off and we keep going. And I know that the next couple of decisions that Football Australia will have to make will be in the interests of football more broadly and those same wider community values. But football in Australia, football in Victoria cannot reach its full potential unless the South Melbourne Football Club is at the heart of that and playing at the highest possible level, because it is critical to community football. So I look forward to better days ahead. I look forward to the times in which post-vaccinations, post-borders opening up again, and post-life getting back to as much as usual as we can make it, that the shared values that this club has built and prospered over and endured for over 60 years will see it able to be positioned for the next century ahead. And I know that that will be at the highest possible level of football competition here in Australia, but equally so deeply embedded in community with its diversity programs, with its juniors programs, with its all abilities programs, with its women's programs, because what this club appreciates is that to be the best it can, it also needs to be strongly and deeply embedded in its community. That's been South Melbourne's strength, and I know it's what's got it through some tough times, and I look forward to better times ahead for Victoria, for Australia, for the world, and at the heart of that, the South Melbourne Football Club. Thank you very much. So we know that Greece, despite a few setbacks, has done extraordinarily well, and it is looking to open up its borders within the next month because it's got very high vaccination rates. Sadly, Australia is not in that position. There's been many challenges with the vaccination rollout, and until we get to something that looks like the levels of vaccination that Greece has and other parts of the world, the prospects of opening our borders isn't going to happen any day soon. Under the arrangements that the Prime Minister's talked about, it may not be until well into 2022. Having said that, what we have done in Australia has been remarkable, and it's been by building a resilient response to COVID to keep us all safe. Essentially, we are COVID-free in this country, which has allowed us to save lives, but to go about our normal business in a way that is safe. And we look no further than the South Melbourne Football Club. It's fully operational. It's got all of its junior programs, all of its women's programs, its senior programs at full throttle, and it's doing it in a COVID-safe way that is completely a leader in how community sport should operate in a COVID-safe way. What we need is that same level of commitment that the South Melbourne Football Club has brought to being safe and being open to our vaccination program. So can I use this as an opportunity to encourage all members of our Greek community that the best vaccine is the one that's available and the one that's going to keep you safe.
Είναι πάρα πολύ αισιόδοξο το μήνυμα, διότι είχαμε τους αρχηγούς της κυβέρνησης μας εδώ στο κέντρο του ποδόσφαιρου, δηλαδή στο γήπεδο της Ελλάς Μελβούρνης, η πιο ιστορική ομάδα που υπάρχει σε αυτή τη χώρα, η ομάδα που κέρδισε περισσότερους τίτλους από όλες τις ομάδες της Αυστραλίας, που γέμιζε τις κερκίδες με χιλιάδες και χιλιάδες κόσμου για πολλά χρόνια. Και είναι η τιμή μας που έχουμε τον Υπουργό Υγεία εδώ για να μας μιλήσει στο πότε ανοίγουν τα σύνορα για να δούμε και την πατρίδα μας, αλλά και επίσης είχαμε και προηγούμενα και τον Υπουργό Αθλητισμού που μίλησε για τη σημασία που έχει αυτή η ιστορική ελληνική ομάδα σε όλη την ευρύτερη κοινωνία μας.
Θέλω να ευχαριστήσω τον Foley που μας έχει υποστηρίξει για τόσο καιρό. Σας ευχαριστώ.
Είναι η τιμή μας ότι έχουμε την Omogeneia τηλεόραση μαζί μας, που πάντα είναι δίπλα με την Ελλάς Μελβούρνης, με την παροικία μας, την ελληνική κοινότητα Μελβούρνης, να γιορτάσουμε μια σημαντική ημέρα, μια μέρα που η Ελλάς Μελβούρνης προσπαθεί να προωθήσει τον εαυτό της στην δεύτερη εθνική κατηγορία. Κάτι σημαντικό για μας σαν Έλληνες, διότι δυστυχώς τα περασμένα 15 χρόνια τη βλέπουμε έξω από την Α Εθνική, κάτι που δεν της ανήκει, κάτι που πρέπει να το διορθώσουμε και προσπαθούμε και εμείς με το δικό μας τον τρόπο τώρα να βοηθήσουμε την ομάδα αλλά και τα παιδιά μας να παίζουν στην Α και Β Εθνική, διότι το αξίζουν και τα παιδιά μας που προσπαθούν και αυτοί να βρουν ένα καλύτερο δρόμο ποδοσφαιρικά αλλά και πολιτιστικά, διότι η ομάδα παίζει ένα ρόλο σε όλο, όχι μόνο σαν ομάδα, ποδοσφαιρική ομάδα, αλλά γενικά στην ευρύτερη κοινωνία, και είναι η τιμή που έχουμε τον Υπουργό Υγεία και τον Υπουργό Αθλητισμού δίπλα μας, δείχνει τη δύναμη της ομάδας μας αλλά και της παροικίας μας. So, Peter has a rich history in understanding our club. And I want Peter to talk us through that rich history. It's a history that Martin has shared, himself being close to this club, but Peter has a more unique history because of his upbringing within the area. So, if I can get everyone to thank and a warm round of applause for Peter as he comes to the lectern to say a few words.
Thank you very much. And I know we can't say South Melbourne Hellas anymore, but I can still say Υγείας και Καλησπέρα. And for all of those, well, everyone here probably, 99% of you, I'm Orthodox, so we're celebrating Easter next week, Kala Pascha as well. Very happy Easter to all of you and your families. I want to thank the club chairman, Bill Papasteriadis, and President Nick Maikousas for the invitation to attend tonight, and really congratulate them both on the wonderful work, the amazing work they've done at this club. It's been really spectacular. So well done to both of you, and to all the board members and all of the people involved in the club and the administration of the club. So well done. I also want to acknowledge Martin Foley, who's the Minister for Health in the state government, who has probably, I said to Martin just then, he's probably got the toughest job, most important job in the state, if not the country, and he's doing an excellent job to keep Victoria safe. So well done, Martin. And of course, Martin Pakula, who left earlier, acknowledged Martin coming here tonight. And of course, all the past presidents here, all the past presidents of this great football club, the past players of this great football club, acknowledge your presence. It's a real thrill to be here. It's a thrill because I love football, and I have since I was a kid, like most of us in this room. And it's a double thrill, because anyone who loves football in this country should know, or knows, that South and Hellas, what they mean, what this club means to the history of the game in this country. It means Theo Amaris, himself a migrant from Lemnos, who loved football and oysters, and founded a club that was a second home for so many new migrants to this country. It means a history of winning championships. First with the Victorian Soccer Federation, later as a dominant force in the ASF and the NSL. And it means so many of the great players of Australian football. The names, Trimboli, Wade, Davidson, Peterson, Margaritis, Postecoglou. And of course, it was South Melbourne that competed at the FIFA Club World Cup in 2000 and walked out in front of 66,000 Brazilian fans in Rio to play Vasco da Gama at the Maracana Stadium, and then faced Manchester United, a team with players such as Beckham and Griggs and Neville. It was a new level for club football in this country, and it felt right that it was South Melbourne flying the flag. This is a unique and proud football club. It's carried the torch for Australian football at every opportunity and delivered some of the most memorable moments in the game in this country. I've got, as Bill mentioned, a personal connection to South Melbourne. Not far from here, my family and I, we lived in the Housing Commission here in South Melbourne. We grew up in this area. And of course I came to the Hellas games. And I remember attending the games, feeling the passion, hearing the singing, inhaling the smoke from the stands, tobacco and flares smoke. I don't know what it did for my health, but I also had a couple of mates who played for South Melbourne as well. John Gomez, I think he played a couple of games with Whiteback next to Ange. And I remember, as all of you would, the 1991 NSL Grand Final, Trimmers threading the ball through to Joe Palacides. And I'm not going to, Kimon's not here tonight, but I didn't forget Kimon Talidouris' ballet-like back header that got the ball to Trimmers. And of course we all remember the traumatic penalty shootout. I think there was like 4 penalties that hit the woodwork in that game. And 23,000 fans going off their heads at the tension of that game. And so we cannot forget the history, because that passion, that emotion, these are the magic threads that binds football's fabric. The tribalism is what binds us to our clubs. Yes, of course, there always must be zero tolerance for violence. But the line drawn to prevent that should not have been permitted to whitewash the passion from our game. Because the tribalism and the passion does not always lead to violence. More often it leads to unbridled joy at watching the beauty of the game. A heart-in-your-mouth exhilaration when your team breaks fast along the wing towards a goal. And that ecstasy when your team finally scores after endless minutes of unbearable tension. That's the stuff the fabric of football. That's what makes it special. And this grand club, South Melbourne, played a fundamental role in stitching that fabric and will and should play a vital role in the future of the game. I also admire the club's intrinsic connection to the Greek Australian community. It's undeniable. The importance of those connections, particularly in the early days, post-war migration, and the role migrants have had in popularising football as a mainstream Australian sport. My own background is Egyptian. As I mentioned, my grandfather was someone who became very passionate for Liverpool Football Club when he was in the army back in World War II. And he passed that on to me. And he's responsible for the passion I have as well for Liverpool today. And are there any Liverpool Football Club supporters here tonight? Yes, a few. So you'll know a great man by the name of Bill Shankly, and I'll give you one of his famous quotes. He said, "Some people believe football is a matter of life and death. I'm very disappointed with that attitude. I can assure you it is much, much more important than that." That quote could not be more true. I still remember vividly being with my grandfather, George, and my dad at the MCG for the 1997 World Cup qualifier against Iran. 80,000 passionate fans. We cried tears of joy when Harry scored, and we cried tears of bitterness when Iran equalised. That night was bittersweet because my grandfather especially, like many of you in this room, was of that generation of migrants who fought for football at the grassroots level. He set up the Pharaohs, some of you might remember in the old industrial league, where teams of different ethnic makeups from workers in the factories would play each other. He was one who advocated and built football in this country when it was still log ball and it wasn't trendy. So it was my grandfather and my dad who introduced me to the beautiful game. And my dad actually saw Brazil play live with Pelé in Egypt in a friendly against Egypt in the 50s. And I watched the tapes of Pelé later after he told me these stories, and then I understood what he meant by the beautiful game. The Gioco Bonito, as my friend, the late Les Murray called it, Laszlo Urquic. I worked at SBS for a number of years, and we were blessed. I was blessed to get to know Les, and hear all these magnificent stories, particularly around Ferenc Puskás. And my dad taught me about the great history of the Hungarian golden team of the 1950s. Players such as Puskás, Kozic, Edekudi, Zibor, Bozic. And when Puskás joined South Melbourne as coach in 1989, yes, the club was the beating heart of the community on match days, and Puskás was a living legend that took the reins of the club. But the fans are the real beating heart and soul of a football club. And South Melbourne fans are still here. The heart still beats strong, and the soul still sings when South scores. That passion, this passion for football by fans is evident the world over. And we know in recent events we've seen in Europe, the uproar caused amongst the football fans at the proposal of the European Super League. That's evidence of that passion. The proposed league had a similar structure to our very own A-League. That's no promotion or relegation, no opportunity to earn a place on merit against the country's very best. I get the reasons for that, the limited market, the cost and so on. It's understandable. But we are one of the few professional leagues in the world without relegation and promotion. But the uproar over there about the Super League should make us think about the fairness of our league here. And does this current structure, without promotion on merit, hinder the growth and true potential of Australian football? Look at the popularity of the FFA Cup, the buzz it created around the country. The proposal of the National Second Division in Australian professional football for men and women competitions goes part way to answering that question about the future of this game in our country. This National Second Division has the potential to foster better pathways for players, coaches across Australia. And I know South Melbourne Football Club is keen to be one of the inaugural clubs participating in this league. The current club structure, the operations, the facilities, the supporter base, the commercial partnerships and playing roster means South Melbourne, and I shouldn't forget the leadership as well of the club under Bill and Nick, puts in a very strong position, ready to participate competitively in the National Second Division. And I can say as a Federal Labor MP that we are committed to growing the game, the beautiful game, in Australia and ensuring we continue our pathway as a footballing nation to compete with the very best in the world. I spoke to our Shadow Minister for Sport, Don Farrell, just before I came tonight, and he said, give the club a message. Tell them, if we're elected, a federal Labor government will be on your side, will be on the football community's side, and will provide the necessary support and advocacy to growing this great game. Because we are committed, because we are passionate. Unlike all these other codes that may call themselves an industry, I really hope football never loses its passion. The ecstasy of the fans when their club scores a goal is something beyond the commercial. It's an affirmation of the beauty of the game. It's an affirmation of the love of the game and the joy, the despair, the exhilaration it gives to billions of people across the globe. And here, in our little pocket of the football world, this grand old club, South Melbourne, gives the same joy to thousands of its own supporters. And I know these supporters and its leadership will drive the club to write a new chapter in the greatness in the story of Australian football. Thank you very much.
And I don't know if any of you noticed the footage that was up on display, but that passion still, even though the numbers are certainly less than our NSL days, the passion is still there amongst our supporters. And I'm tired of hearing it's not the same South or we're a different club. No, we're the same club, the same DNA, same history, same passion, and we still maintain 100,000 social media followers. And those social media followers can be funny at times. When the European Super League news broke, I thought I saw a tweet that South's joining the European Super League. So nothing has really changed. And every time our players step onto the pitch, from mini-roos all the way to the seniors, everyone still wants to beat South. The South shirt has always been and will always remain a heavy shirt, and it's just the way we like it. You've heard about our teams and how proud we are of not just our boys and girls and seniors, but our power chair team, our blind football team, our refugee program, and All Abilities program, very much of which Skip Fulton. Skip, can you put your hand up there, mate? Who's actually running a lot of that. I'd like everyone in this room to understand that the investment that you make, that is made into this club, doesn't go just into the senior team. It funds all divisions, all parts of this great club. I'd like to thank Chris Nicker for agreeing to be our keynote speaker here tonight, and also congratulate him and his team and the FA on securing the Women's World Cup. Where the fixtures have allowed, we've created 5 or 6 double headers this year. We certainly believe in women's football, and it's certainly the biggest growth opportunity, commercial growth opportunity. We're a members-based club. We are the people's club. We've served this community and the broader football community for over 60 years. In fact, the origins for one of the clubs that merged in 1959 dates back to the 1890s, and all in this precinct. Whilst the past is important, and we respect it and recognise it, right now it's all about the future of this club. Our stakeholders aren't shareholders, but rather volunteers, members, current and past players, sponsors. Everyone in this room has skin in the game here and own this club. Culturally, we think that's important in this town and a significant point of differentiation. The AFL has clearly shown that a members-based model can work. Our focus has been the creation of the National Second Division. We know that it's not a question of if, but when. Our own internal modelling clearly shows that a standalone National Second Division is a game changer for us as a club. And I'm talking multi-million-dollar increases in revenue. And all of it reinvested back into football. All of it. Most of the smaller clubs that we know that we play now on a weekly basis are all clubs that were once part of the South family. These clubs, like Northcotes and Oakleys and Bentleys and Ports, these were all South clubs in the past. Probably Heidelberg is the only exception to that. I see Billy nodding his head. So a national second division, our view is that world order will be restored again. And in a mutual, respectful manner, we need to arrive at a national second division model that works for all, finally unites our great game, grows it and produces an abundance of local talent. You've heard that this tonight from others, but within a financially viable and sustainable model. The goodwill between the FA, Chris and his team, and South Melbourne is extraordinary. And we encourage the FA to have the courage to work and build the national second division. The AFC and member clubs have done, well, need to do more work in terms of financial model, and I'll be pushing that pretty hard myself. We congratulate Chris for making some great senior management appointments, James Johnson, Peter Philopoulos, quality individuals who also know the game. In fact, one of the meetings that I think Peter, James and I had, one of the questions James asked me was, Nick, is it true that SMFC Mike is real? And I thank Leo Thanasakis for giving my telephone number. Now, I know the FA objective is to unify the game, bring the old and new, just like we're doing here tonight. The A-League has got its own issues, but I suspect the unbundling process changes some of the priorities for the FA. We know the National Second Division is now a priority for all stakeholders. This is a chance for South Melbourne to return to the national stage and relaunch the club. The game has some structural weaknesses when clubs don't have a direct vote at state member federations. And I know the Victorian Federation is working on that as we speak. The clubs like South need to have a vote for its state federations. Now, I exclude Victoria from this, but I know the state member federations are hesitant and nervous and reluctant to lose their big clubs to a national competition, national second division. But everyone should remember that the federations, not the FA, the state federations don't own the clubs. We own the clubs, and they all need to work for the betterment of the greater game. The truth is that we're not a great NPL club. There are smaller clubs there, more dynamic, able to change. And as the saying goes, we've got the best house in the worst street. Now, enough about the National Second Division. A couple of quick other matters. Hall of Fame here at the club. We've always awarded our championship players, automatically inducted them into the Hall of Fame. We're going to tweak that now, because there are some players, and I'm going to call it the George Campbell Amendment, because he kills me each time I see him. Never won anything, and therefore not recognised in our Hall of Fame. So we'll do that based on games as well. And similarly, I want to induct administrators into Hall of Fame and recognise their service to this great club. So stay tuned. Now, in particular to Billy, to George and to Peter, I've got a little secret to share. I've been claiming Ange Posti's back-to-back NSL championships from the late 90s. To this current crop, I keep telling them all it's me. I did it all. Billy, sorry. And the World Club Championships and Oceania and even the two most recent NPL championships, Leo. I claim them all. Plus potentially Andrew, we're top of the table this year, so that'll be 5 home, right? To our past presidents, it's been an honour to have you here tonight, and we hope to see more of you in the future. This still remains your club. Final housekeeping, Tony Clark Memorial Match is taking place on the weekend, on Saturday, which is the Copperoos versus the old Socceroos, and which is a curtain raiser to South Melbourne versus Hume. Saturday then on Tuesday night we take on Melbourne Knights in the FA Cup tie. How the hell we keep drawing Melbourne Knights so early in the FA Cup round is extraordinary. That's 4 out of 7. I'm starting to believe those hot ball, cold ball theories going around. So thank you all, and it gives me great pleasure.